Hunter Thompson said, and I quote, "We cannot expect people to have respect for the law and order until we teach respect to those we have entrusted to enforce those laws." And with this, I'm welcoming you to the Law Gallery, coming to you from the Lagos studios of KAFTAN Television. I remain Khalid, Bada, and as you know, I always have interesting packages for your watching and listening delight. And this week, I have another interesting package for you. And you know, I don't do it alone. I always have a brilliant legal practitioner with me who will be engaging in the discussion. But before we do that, let's move on to our studio for the updates on the program today. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the news update of the Law Gallery. I am Esther Agbo. Suspended Deputy Commissioner Abba Kyari, also known as a Super Cop, was granted bail Thursday in a federal court in Abuja, and bailouts are underway. Kyari, the former head of the Police Intelligence Response Team, has been in custody since her arrest in 2022. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency accused him of using his underlings to distribute drugs across Nigeria. The NDLEA has suspended DCP Kyari pending trial for alleged involvement in a 25 kg cocaine deal. He was arrested and taken to court, where he was ordered to be detained in pretrial detention at Kuje Prison in Abuja. The Abuja Supreme Court's Chief Justice, Judge Korawole Omotosho, granted the suspect bail under strict conditions. Kyari's employer, the Nigerian police, set up a commission to investigate his conduct, after which he was suspended and recommended to be prosecuted. On to the next, Nasarawa chairman of the All Progressive Congress, APC, Stakeholders Forum, Dr. Kasim Mod Kasim, has stated the 10 members of the Nasarawa Assembly, led by Honorable Daniel Ogazi, did not receive their June salaries because they were not inaugurated. Dr. Kasim, a former member of the Assembly, stated this on Thursday in Lafia during a briefing. He dismissed those he called faceless individuals, questioning the non-payment of the 10 members by Governor Abdullah Sule. According to him, there is no authority or law that says members who are yet to be inaugurated should be paid salaries. The 10 members led by Daniel Ogazi have refused to present themselves for inauguration by the Speaker for many reasons known only to them. Moving to the next, President Bola Tinubu, in a bid to address concerns raised by the manufacturers and other stakeholders regarding recent tax changes by Muhammadu Buhari's administration, has signed 4 executive orders, one of which is the suspension of the 5% excise tax on telecommunication services, as well as the excise duties escalation on locally manufactured products. Finance Act's Effective Date Variation Order 2023, which now defers the commencement date of the changes contained in the Acts from May 23, 2023 to September 1, 2023. He explained that this is to ensure adherence to the 90-day minimum advance notice for tax changes as contained in the 2017 National Tax Policy. President Tinubu also signed the Customs Excise Tariff Variation Amendment Order 2023, shifting the commencement date of the tax changes from March 27, 2023 to August 1, 2023, and also in line with the National Tax Policy. Alake added that the President also ordered the suspension of the newly introduced green tax on single-use plastics, including plastic container and bottles. President Tinubu also ordered the suspension of the import tax adjustment levy on certain vehicles. And that's all we have for you on the news updates for today. Now we return to Khalid for the day's discussion. Bye for now.
Welcome back. It's still the Law Gallery coming to you from the Lagos studios of KAFTAN Television. Just as you know, before we went for the break, I mentioned that I have a brilliant practitioner, a brilliant legal practitioner with me, and he's not just a legal practitioner, he's a content creator, a YouTuber. You know, his content focuses on legal guidance and legal tips. I must tell you, I found his page quite interesting. He's Barrister Oluwatodimu, also known as Oga_the lawyer. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm sorry that I could not pronounce the name.
No, it happens most times, because of the uniqueness of the name. I get that a lot.
It's quite unique. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Now, before we go into the discussion of today, particularly the police stop and search in Nigeria, I'd like us to talk about your content creation.
All right,
I must commend the work you've done. Looking through the page, I saw a lot of content, even the number of followers you've been able to amass. Now, how have you been able to, first, how were you able to come up with the idea? Because as a legal practitioner, I'm not a legal practitioner, I'm a journalist, but I wouldn't think about it. I wouldn't think of a legal practitioner who is also a content creator, because I wouldn't be able to just bring out the bridge. How did you come up with that?
Okay, yeah, well, I started off on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Because, I started in 2018, if I recall correctly. I think January 2019. I just sat down and I said, many people don't even know their rights. Many people don't know the position of the law. When you talk about laws and understanding them, many see it as a very boring topic.
True.
So I just said, let me start on my WhatsApp. That was when WhatsApp introduced the status update.
Yes.
So, what I would do weekly, probably every Sunday after church, after a good dose of pounded yam, I just said, let me write something interesting. So, I started out with 10 things that can land you in jail. And, surprisingly, many were saying, no, how can you say that? How can you say this will land me in jail? It's not wrong. Examples of, I told someone that if somebody parks in front of your gate, it is wrong to deflate their tires.
Oh.
Yeah, that is against the law.
Yes.
And they said, no, is he mad in front of my gates? And all that.
Infringing on my rights.
Exactly. So those are so many things. People would abuse you. You send threatening messages to them via WhatsApp and even write it. Those are things that are against the law. So those are things. Gradually it started. We got to a point. The page was not growing. I was not doing it for, for clout or for growth. My passion was just to ensure that people get to know their rights and know the right from the wrong. So when we got to that stage, I got somebody, a colleague said, oh, why don't you do videos? People who don't want to read these days, can you do videos? I said, I don't want to put my face out there. I'm a private person. But, after so much pushing, family, I said, you can try it now, do video. And you wouldn't believe it. The first video we did, I just saw, wow, 1,000 views.
Wow.
How? So we have people like this following us. So gradually, it became twice weekly, thrice weekly, and that's how we have been doing it.
Now, how have you been managing it? Because I understand the fact that the legal practice is quite time-taking, it's tedious, it requires a lot of attention. And content creation, on the other hand, takes a lot of attention before you shoot, the editing, even brainstorming. How have you been able to manage both?
Yes, it's, I must agree with you that it is very difficult and it can be tasking. There have been times that I have had to shoot videos 1 a.m.
Wow.
Yes, after a long day in court, after a long day at the office, and you remember that you still need to teach people on the law. We do videos. So most times what I do is any time that I have a little bit of time, we do pre-recordings at a stretch so that we can be able to meet the demands. But I know over time, because over time I've been hearing people say, oh, I've not been hearing from you. And most times, people, because they now depend on the teachings and all that, when they run into me in court or even on the street or even in the mall, they say, oh, well, your video, we're not getting much. Yeah, we're not seeing you in a while. So I ensure that, being that as a man, no matter how tasking or busy my schedule is, we must at least put 1 or 2 posts minimum out there in a week. And we have been trying.
Now, is there a possibility of perhaps having a dividend? Like, do you perhaps look forward to getting something in return? Or what is the main motivation? Maybe one day you could make money off it, because we know that people make money off content creation. Is this something you look forward to? Well,
left to me. Over time, like you said, you will see that our followers have increased. So, over time, I've been seeing people sending DMs, proposals on, oh, why don't you monetize this knowledge? Some would, sometimes last year, somebody sent a message that they wanted us to this ambassador, we talk about probably an aspect of an industry and recommend them. And I said, well, for me, majorly, we want to put the right content out there, teach people about the law. If extra income comes in, fine. But money is not the major motivation. Another aspect, of course, these things happen when you have started putting in the work. I just discovered that most times when you talk about a particular aspect of the law, people will reach out to you and say, well, I have this problem. And, you know, by God's grace, we're able to solve that problem because of it's an area of law that we practice. And, of course, clientele comes in from there. And it's a little bit, well, it's a motivation, of course.
All right, so into the main discussion. While going through your page, one of the topics that caught my attention was the police stop and search in Nigeria. You talked about it, and you know, I would like us to elaborate more on that. Now, we understand the fact that, fine, police stop and search, they are necessary things, and they've been beneficial always. There are times when perhaps someone who has stolen a car got stopped, and we've seen cases of police apprehending such person. Now, is there a legal framework to this? Is there a legal regulation, so to say? Because we understand the fact that the law is in every aspect of the human existence. Now, is there a regulation to this? Is there a way it is supposed to be practiced? Because we've seen different sides of it. We've seen the positive and the negative side. Well, is there a regulation? Is there a prescription, a law prescription to that? Yes,
very well. There is the Police Act, and the Police Act empowers the police to conduct a search when on a person, because search is, I think I should mention that, search is in stages. Search of a person, search of a premises. That means that it's a different ball game when the police sees me on the road and accost me and say, come, we want to search you. It's a different ball game when they say they want to come and search this premises, or your property. It's a different ball game. So the law empowers the police to search anyone or search any property if there is a reasonability, if there's a suspicious reason, if they feel that a person is in possession of what they believe does not belong to him, or they believe that the person has a proceed of crime on this person, they can conduct a search.
Now, you mentioned the fact that it has different levels. It could be as an individual or on a property.
Very well.
We've seen cases of situations where a person is going on the streets and such person is stopped. And the police will be like, okay, let me go through your phone. I want to check your laptop. And I could recall that once, it was once said by the IGP that the police should stop searching people's phone. I remember. Now, how do we then breach this? Because coming that, okay, they should stop searching people's phone, and another perspective that, okay, they have the right to search people's, an individual, if they probably find something suspicious, how do we then breach this? The searching of the phone, we know it's something common in the contemporary Nigeria. But is this actually right in the first place?
Now, you would see that the law says that you can search a person when you believe that he has a proceed of crime, or you feel that something that is on him was gotten illegally. So that leads us to, you have a suspicion that I stole a phone.
Okay.
Let's just say, okay, you have a reasonable suspicion that I stole a phone. It doesn't lead you to searching the phone. Do you get the point? Yeah. Where did you get this phone from? Do you have a receipt for it? Why then do you need to search the phone without forcing me to open the phone, forcing me to check my WhatsApp chats, checking my pictures? That is no longer, you have gone beyond the realm of investigation. And the IGP was right by saying that it is wrong for any police officer to do what? To search anybody's phone. If you feel that you have a reasonable doubt, it is within the power of the police to arrest and say, sir, we believe that this phone is not yours. We will need to take you down to our station and book you so that you can provide further information. You will see that most of them that search, they say, oh, they are looking out for fraudsters or whatever reasons they are looking into your phone for, or your laptop. If they want to do the proper investigation, they should invite you to the police station. Investigation is not meant to be done on the streets. So I align with the position of the IGP, and I think it's the proper thing to do. And I have seen that he has also sanctioned officers who have done that. And I think that those are steps in the right direction.
So we talked about motivation and suspicion. What do you think could be motive, or what do you think a person can have on them that would make a police officer, for an example, to approach such person? Because anybody can be a criminal. It is not written on the face. Not every tattooed person is a criminal. Not everybody with dread, so to say, is a criminal, even though sometimes it portrays such. But what do you think could be the physical appearance of a person that would make a police officer just approach such person and say, okay, I want to search you?
Yes, well, the truth of it is that the police, or virtually in our society, there are some certain elements that you have mentioned. Dreadlocks, keeping an afro, wearing sagging your jean. These are profiles that police would look and say, oh, this person looks like a Yahoo boy. This person looks like somebody that is jobless. Why is, so profiling is part of policing anyway. It could be wrong, it could be right. And because there have been instances that using this profile, they have been able to apprehend criminals. There have been instances where during stop and search, they found head of human beings in a poly bag, in the trunk of vehicles, and so many other such instances. So in that regard, profiling comes in. It might be wrong. So that's why it takes us to another point. When you want to search anyone, there are procedures to it, like I mentioned. You need to introduce yourself. You don't just pull my shirt on the road and say, come, who are you, make I search you. For God's sake, why would you do that? The first thing is, if you are going to search anyone, the law, what the regulation says, that you must introduce yourself. I am a police officer from so division, where the reason for stopping you, sir, is to conduct a search because we are on the lookout for XXX elements. Please, would you step aside so that we can conduct a search? Now, having said that, it is only ethical that if anybody is going to conduct a search on someone, you must first submit yourself to a search. That is, if you intend to search me, it is ethical that you allow me search you, so that the story doesn't come around to say that you planted whatever was found on my person. So it is within your right to let the officer know that, yes, I don't oppose you searching me. I'm not averse to it. But before you do this search, I must search you first to be sure that you're not planting anything on me. Because you will see that even in court, we have seen instances wherein people have been searched and they claim that the enforcement officers actually planted the drugs on them. And of course, in court, what you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt is your own case. And if somebody is saying that I have never smoked, let's just say that it's India hemp that was found. If this man says I've never smoked India hemp, I'm not a dealer, I suspect that it's the officer that planted it on me. If they can't establish it, that case is gone.
Now, you said it is ethical that the person who is going to search someone should also present him or herself for searching. Now, it is ethical, but then is it legal? Is there a legal binding to that? Is it the right of the citizen? Is it something we can actually claim? Saying, okay, you want to search me as a police officer, I can search you too. Is there a legal writing to that? Perhaps in the Constitution or the legal extensions of the citizens?
Yes. Now, when you say that, it's not written in black and white, but when we say it is ethical, when you say it is ethical, it means that it comes with the ethics of the profession.
Okay.
So as a police officer, you must conduct yourself in line with the ethics of your profession. That means that ethics means that the code of conduct, the code of behavior that is expected of a policeman. So when I say it is ethical, that means that if you are actually looking out to enforce the law, then you must go by the law. So it is as of a right, because you have your right to freedom of movement, you have your right to freedom to your privacy, you have your right to freedom of expression. So if an officer is coming to impugn or breach that right, he needs to give you a reason for doing what? For doing that. So it's only ethical to say, you want to search me, it's my private moment, it's my privacy. I have a right to walk the streets of Lagos or anywhere. So if you want to search me, it is only ethical that I conduct a search. It's also ethical that it is only a male police officer that can search a male person, a male suspect as well. So it will be very, very wrong for a male police officer to say, oh, he wants to conduct a search on a female. It is wrong. So those are ethics.
Now, we've seen cases where perhaps a police officer wants to search someone and such person would decline, saying, you cannot search me. We've seen cases like that, and you know, most times it results into altercations, and usually the citizens don't win. It is acceptable. Now, do you think, is it something we can do? Is it, as a citizen, as an individual, is it something that can, is it legal to say, okay, I don't want to present myself for search at this moment?
Well, you know, as it stands, unfortunately, when, you know, like I said, what the law says is that when there's a reasonable suspicion, that's what the law says, that when there's a reasonable suspicion, the policeman can conduct a search. So if you are saying that you don't want to be searched at that moment, then it raises the level of suspicion.
Yes, yes.
So it might be difficult for you to resist. What you can only ask for is, before you can conduct a search on me, of course, one police officer cannot conduct a search on me. I need to have witnesses. I believe that that's ethical to say, I'm not objecting to search, I'm not running. But because I don't trust you, I don't even know you, let one of your colleagues or somebody that is a witness stand in and watch you search me. And I think that is ethical. And any reasonable officer should accept or accede to such a request.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Now, I think we've talked about the individual perspective. Let's talk about the property.
Yes.
We've seen cases where police officers, it's always the police officers, just come onto a property, sometimes even break doors, come in forcefully, because they probably have a motive, they have this motivation that, okay, something illegal is going on and we just want to find out. Now, in a situation where perhaps the occupant of such property is not around, let's say it's in the day and such person is at a different location, is it allowed for the police to actually enter such property for the search activity?
All right, so thank you. Now, when it comes to searching a property, there are also procedures to it. Let's imagine that the police is running after a suspect and the suspect jumps into a property. It is within the right of the police to go in pursuit of such a criminal, and you know, by doing that, they have entered into that property.
Yes, yes.
You understand that? That's one aspect of a search. That, okay, because we saw somebody jump into this compound, or we saw, you know, we have reasonable suspicion that something is going on in this compound, and we need to intervene immediately. You know, like you're walking by and you're, hey, blood, oh, they don't kill me, they don't kill me. You can't go and get a search warrant. The responsibility of the policeman is to immediately intervene. That's one. So the second aspect is that if you are going to search a property, you must get a search warrant. And such search warrant must have been signed by a judge. And when you present such a search warrant, you must, of course, present to the owner of the premises you want to search, except the order of the court says otherwise. So ordinarily, you cannot search a premises without first presenting the warrant to the occupant of the premises. So it now lies on once you have approached the property and you have presented the warrant, the person, like I said, can now search the officers or whoever wants to conduct the search and say, before you come in, I will need to search you to ensure that you're not planting anything in the premises. So once he has conducted his own search on all those individuals, he can now allow them access into the property to conduct the search.
Thank you very much for that. Now, generally, what impacts do you think these search activities have had in the relationship between law enforcement agents and the citizens? Now, the police is your friend, the police is our friend, but do you think it has, in a way, estranged the relationship between the two individuals, that is, the individual, the person that is to be searched, and the police officers?
Now, you will see that since the IGP tried to enforce officers to stop officers from searching phones, you will see that the acrimony, the clash between individuals and the citizens and the police has reduced to a large extent. Because the painful part of it is that searching individuals you know, of course, saner crimes have moved more to intelligence policing. That is, they gather information before they approach anyone. You know, so before, in the Western world, before the police or the law enforcement agent would approach you to conduct a search, you can be sure that 99% they will find something incriminating on you. That means that they have done quite a, you know, they have put in a lot of work. Now, back home here, if you are going to search anyone, you know, most times it's usually with people who they suspect to be Yahoo boys or, you know, fraudulent. And that's the unfortunate thing. So the search can actually be done in a proper manner. You have to be cautious. As police officers, doesn't mean that, you know, there have been instances. I even remember one day I was just coming back from court, and where I was walking to where I parked. You know, it was very strange to me. I was with a black, a Manila envelope. And the guy pulled me from nowhere. I said he's a police officer. You know, the way he looked at, I gave him that. What do you mean? You know, he just pulled my jacket. Can you do? So I looked at him and said, excuse me. And I said, I'm a lawyer, this one, leave him. No, I had to ask, come. Is it even proper? How can you just pull somebody by the jacket? Do you understand? Yes. The proper thing is, sorry, excuse me. Yes, how can I help you? We are police officers from so division. Can we get to know you? Yes, what's the problem? Please, we would like to search you. Can you step aside? It is even proper to lead you to their van so that they don't embarrass you. You know, so these things are not rocket science. It has to do with human relations. It has to do with emotional intelligence. And I think in those aspects, the police, yes, it's the law, but the law has a human face, and they must do it with reasonability.
Thank you very much. Yes. Now, the most common occurrence of stop and search is usually on the road with motorists. Yes. Is there a boundary? Now, I will narrate an experience I've had. I was traveling in Ondo State, and we were stopped by a police officer. He asked for the particulars, we showed him. He asked for the driver's license, presented it. The fire extinguisher, presented it. And I guess he didn't know what else to ask. Then he said, show me your engine number. He asked for the car's engine number. And I said, I don't even know where the engine number is. I didn't build this car. So, okay, do you know where the engine number is? Find it yourself. Then he was like, no, I have to show the engine number. Now, is there a limit to it? Is there anything they can request? And is there something they just cannot request? I've been a law enforcement agent. Now,
the unfortunate thing is that asking you to show them your engine number, they would, of course, come with a plethora of examples wherein they have been able to apprehend people who switch plate numbers, and they will be able to discover from the papers that the engine number does not belong to the vehicle. And of course, there have been instances wherein somebody has legitimately changed the engine number of his vehicle. Automatically, the engine number changes. But most times, now, the question you and I would ask ourselves is, how many times have the police charged people to court based on that? Of course, why they do that, why they go to the length of asking you for blade in the car, asking you for all this, is not to enforce the law, but to enrich their pockets. So when this happens, I believe that a fine should suffice. I don't need to go to the police station with you. FRSC is there, they issue tickets. Even last month, at a point, they issue tickets. So why not say, okay, yes, there's an infraction. Please, we are booking you because you could not show your engine number, or your engine number is a variance with what is on your documentation. That would limit corruption. But of course, they do that to waste your time, and because they know you don't want to go to court, and they use that opportunity to milk you. So, like you have said, the law says, the law uses the word reasonable. And unfortunately, most of these law enforcement officers are not reasonable. They can be so unreasonable at times.
Thank you very much. Now, we have the FRSC, we have the police, we have the VIO, and they all have different responsibilities. But we've seen in so many cases that it seems they don't know their responsibility, because you see the VIO doing the job of the road safety, you see the road safety doing the work of the police, and you see the police probably infringing on the duties of the armed forces. Then you ask yourself, okay, do you even know what you're doing? Do you know what you're expected to do? Now, in such cases, can we actually perhaps accost such person, probably a police officer that is not doing what is expected, maybe infringing on the duties of the VIO, for an example? You understand? Can we actually reject, and can we actually maybe, you know, report such person?
Yes, and you see that the police have, over time, we must commend them on that. They keep, particularly the PROs of all the police divisions, Lagos, even the first PRO in general. What they do is they release, there's a police complaints unit, wherein you can call or even send WhatsApp messages and relate infractions by their men to them. So in such instances, that's it. I know I've seen such about LASMA, I'm not sure about FRSC. So in such instances, you can actually report them. Because the truth is, when you tell, I always tell people that you must always obey the man. You know, in a popular way, you said that you must always obey the man with the gun. Because most times, if somebody stops you and is asking you for certain things and is reeking of alcohol, what level of correction do I want to instill in such a man? Or it will rather infuriate him the more. So if you want to, if you cherish your life, just take down whatever particulars you can and report to the appropriate authorities for action. And, you know, commendably, the police have been seen to have acted in some instances.
Thank you very much. Now, while you were talking earlier, you made mention of the fact that, okay, in the West, there is a difference in the mode of operation. What are the things you think we should learn from the West? Perhaps the modus operandi or something they make use of that we don't use here.
Okay, now it's so, you know, like what you mentioned, without even going to the West, there was a time that there was police brutality and somebody asked me, and I told that person that most times when they tell you army they come, or the soldiers are coming, most of them don't even bear arms. You agree with me? True. And people obey. They just say everybody line up because the soldier is there. Why? Because they believe that the police, the soldiers can be brutal, they can be, of course, they're ethical. Of course, you won't see the average. I don't ordinarily. You won't see the soldier going about harassing citizens.
Sure.
Yet you see a policeman with a big gun. Until he shouts, "I go shoot you," before you obey. It shows that the respect is not there. So the Nigerian police should first work on its image. Respect is reciprocal. You can't pull my jacket and expect me to laugh at you and say, "Oh, God, come and search me now." It will not work. Just imagine if it was somebody that is violent. The next thing is to slap you. Why would you pull my jacket when you can actually say, "Please, excuse me, can I talk to you?" And you will see that, particularly in the UK, they will tell you that the UK policeman will say, "Oh, please enter the vehicle, please enter the cell, please, sir," everywhere, all the way till they push you to where they are going. You understand? Even in the area of when they are conducting investigation or taking down your statement, they would not at any time use force. It's intelligence, asking you questions. If you say you're not talking, they excuse you, come back at it until you are tired and divulge the truth, not necessarily resulting into violence like, you know, we heard in those days. I think the police have reduced that now, that they tie you to the fan, they beat you up and all that to get confession out of you. And do you know what that happens? When that happens, when we get to court, there's what we call trial within trial, because somebody who they claim confessed to a crime now says, "I only confessed because I was under duress. These people beat me up and I want my life. So I had to say everything I said." So the court now conducts what we call trial within trial to confirm that this statement was given under duress. Waste of state resources, waste of time, waste of years. So this is another area that we can work on. So the police must urgently, as a matter of urgency, work on their image. You must respect the citizens. You are being paid from the taxes of the individual. If you want to enforce the law, doesn't mean that you should be so rude and uncouth. Most times you even know them by their fruits, their attributes. When you see, even most times, I'm sorry to say this, when you have a police matter and you go to the police station, I've been at the DPO's office before, and we were treating a somewhat serious matter, and he was talking to a girlfriend on the phone, saying, "Yeah, Alpha, you don't chop, you don't drink garri." So nauseating. ordinarily, nobody will come to my office and I'll treat them in that manner, regardless of their age. But of course, it's because it's the police. So, those are aspects that we need to, as a matter of urgency, see that they are the reforms, because those are the true reforms.
Now, how do you think we can leverage on technology? One bridge between Nigeria and perhaps the so-called developed countries is how they have leveraged technology into everything they do. How do you think we can leverage technology in improvement of the activities of the police force, particularly in stop and search operations?
Yes, you will see that I mentioned earlier that when it comes to stop and search, intelligence policing, that in the West, if anyone was to approach you and say, we want to search you, in fact, almost, if I say 100% or 99.9%, they will find something on you. Why? They must have been watching you on CCTV. They would have ensured that the items actually passed to you or whatever they want to get off you. So that brings us to intelligence. We can install CCTVs round. There are some countries that say that even if you want to have a business premises, you must have a CCTV camera.
Yes.
These are procedures, these are processes that would assist in day-to-day intelligence policing. And when we do that, funny enough, left to me, it might be expensive to put all the CCTVs, but it is cheaper in the long run, because most of the time, the police rush. In fact, what they do first is arrest, then investigate. So it's so easy. You are putting the cart before the horse. Why don't you investigate? And that way it goes smoothly. You investigate, arrest, and go for punishment. And you'll see that people like that's why I said I think that we don't even need to look outside. You will see that the EFCC, at least to a large extent, they conduct their investigation and they sweep into arrest.
True.
And they are in Nigeria. The same way the army, you would not see how many cases of accidental discharge have we had with the Nigerian army or the Nigerian Air Force or the Nigerian Navy. It's to the barest minimum, and they bear arms.
True.
As a matter of fact, even if you look at the FRSC that you mentioned, to a very large extent, I would respect, the FRSC doesn't even bear arms. But once they stop you, you stop. They pull you over, you stop. Why? Because you feel that they're respectable, unlike our colleagues at the Nigerian police.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the session and how you've been able to do justice to our questions. Now, our time is fast spent, and we would have to wrap up the program. But before we go, I would like you to give probably a parting shot to our audience as individuals, as citizens.
Yes, as citizens of Nigeria, I would advise that you know your rights, because many of us are very lackadaisical when it comes to knowing our rights. Many people have slept on their rights, and until you make a demand for it, in Yoruba, they say that if you don't wake up, people will just take you for a ride. And as I always tell my followers on social media, I say that stay on the right side of the law, because the truth is the law can actually bite.
Thank you very much, Barrister Oluwatodimu. There you have it. You need to know your rights. Just as he said, don't sleep on your rights. Let's endeavor to be law-abiding citizens. Now, this is where we draw the curtain on the program for this week, to return next week with another amazing package. And I remain Khalid. Bada. Bye for now.